much, Danielle. And again, everybody, welcome to Coffee Connection Live. We're so glad you're here with us. I say tonight, but it could be morning for some of you. And Heidi Murkoff, thank you so much for being here and for coordinating outfits with us tonight.
Representing.
We love our USO t-shirts. And just so everybody knows, the USO t-shirt campaign is still going on, so you can get your t-shirt if you go to uso.org/t-shirt. Cheers, Heidi. It's great to have coffee with you today.
Yeah. I'm great that I'm here. I also have my Bavaria mug signed.
Shout out to Bavaria. I love that.
And my Guam mug.
Hello,
but I broke all the other ones, but I had some awesome ones from Okinawa. So hi, everybody. Hi, everybody from Okinawa. Hi, everybody from all around the United States. And hopefully some from Guam as well. Hey, woohoo! Hello from Okinawa. Yay. One of my favorite places on the planet, and I wish I were there right now.
It's so true. It's so true. Well, we should take it back to the beginning and talk about how this started, because most people viewing know that you're the author of the ever popular What to Expect series. And we want to make sure everybody knows that you've been partnering with the USO for a really long time on the special delivery baby showers.
Yeah,
so let's talk about those.
Yes, because it was about 8 years ago, I think, that we started. Time flies when you're hugging moms and snuggling babies. So it was about 8 years ago when we had our first shower in Okinawa. In fact, that was 2012, I'm gonna say, if my math is correct. And first of all, we were so excited to partner with the USO. We had done one baby shower with another organization, just, donating books. And then we decided once we went to the shower that we were hooked and we were never going to stop doing this. By we, I mean me and Eric. And so we looked around for partners and we found the USO, and a couple months later, we were doing our first shower. And by the way, those who have lived in Okinawa or are based there now will totally appreciate this story. The first showers in Okinawa, we had 3 in a row, and the air conditioning at the USO Center was broken all 3 days. It was August, it was Okinawa, no AC, and there were 100 moms each day, a lot of them in uniform, and you know what those uniforms are like. And everybody was a sweaty mess, and I wouldn't have changed that for the world. We had the best hug fest, sweaty hug fest, but it was incredible. And it just got better from there. And we've been doing it all these years since.
I love that story. And as someone who lives in Okinawa and remembers that August heat, that's no joke. So
No.
Dedication, real dedication on your part and the part of everybody who came to the shower and stuck it through without the air conditioning.
It's awesome. You don't look at the pictures, but it was awesome.
I'm sure they're great. So do we know how many baby showers you've done? Can we throw out a number approximately?
Well, we're trying to figure that out. It seems like, well, it's over 200. It could be like between 215, 250, who knows? I mean, it's hard to count. What I really wish I had done over all these years is have like a calculator for hugs. Because as you know, Liz, you know this, because you've been with me, I have a very strict 1 hug minimum, no maximum. And so I would say probably average of 3 per mom. So we're talking, and then the hospital visits, the dad showers, the reunions. It's a lot of hugs, but never enough. And I miss them desperately right now during this time. So big hugs, everybody. Virtual.
So hard right now. I mean, that's hundreds of thousands of hugs that you're missing out on just this year, but we're going to get back there and we'll talk about that a little bit at the end of the show tonight. So can you take us back to when you first wrote What to Expect? What put that on? What made you decide to write a book?
Well, you can probably guess I got knocked up. So it was an oops, a happy oops, but it was an oops. We got married 3 months later. Oops, didn't see that coming. That tells you how young and I'm just gonna say it, dumb I was at the time, because I I didn't see it coming. I should have. And there were no books. Of course, there are no apps. Now there's an app for what to expect too. But there was nothing. There were a couple of books, but they were scary and they didn't answer my questions. And they were written by, old doctor men. All the doctors were men. I'm not disparaging in any way. I love dads. I love men, of course, but they'd never been pregnant before, and you sort of have to put yourself in those shoes to know why the shoes don't fit because your feet are swollen. And so I true story, 2 hours before I went into labor with Emma, I delivered a proposal for what to expect when you're expecting. So it turned out to be a really busy day because I had 2 babies in one day. Both unmedicated, by the way, just because nobody offered medication back then. But it was a productive day, yeah. So ever since then, I've been a mom on a mission, and the mission just gets bigger and bigger, but same mission. I just want to help moms and dads sleep better at night.
And it has worked a lot, and everyone on here is a testament to that. I mean, before I knew you, it was the only book that I read in both my pregnancies, front to back, because it was the only one that made sense. And Heidi, you mentioned I've been to baby showers with you. I'm so honored to have been able to do that. And I think one of the first questions I asked you was, so you're a doctor, right? So do you have a medical background?
I barely have an adult background before I started writing What to Expect, because I was barely an adult. No, I had no medical background. Some would probably say I had no business writing a book about pregnancy, but I think, well, clearly I do my research and I do it carefully, and I've been doing this for a few years and keep up with all the science. But it's funny because I go every year to medical conferences and to the OBs and the pediatrics conferences, and I always see doctors who say, they teach us so much in medical school, but they don't teach us any of this. And, until I got pregnant myself, I didn't know what moms were going through, that kind of thing. And so it's not just the information, which is super important, that you can rely on it, that, you can trust it. But it's also the way you deliver it that has to be written, by a mom for moms and dads, and be empathetic, because I've been there. I had the baby who wouldn't stop crying in the middle of the night, right? I know exactly how you feel. And, every mom's different, every baby's different, but that at least I have that feeling of we're all in this together.
And it's wonderful because it makes you such a great go-to for anyone that has questions, which again is why we love the baby showers and the reunions and the dad showers so much, because people can go straight to the source and it's someone they really trust. So I do want to invite everyone who's watching right now, if you have questions for Heidi tonight, make sure you start to put them in the Q&A box, because I promise I'm not going to take up all the time asking my questions. We're going to get to know Heidi a little bit, and then we're going to get to your questions. So go ahead and start loading those into the Q&A box. And once we know Heidi a little bit better, we'll get to your questions.
I do have to say that the dad showers are sometimes my favorite, because dads ask the most questions. We have to do overtime with the dads. They are so serious about it, and they take notes. They take serious, copious notes. I love that.
They are problem solvers. They want to know why, and they want to know how to fix it, right?
Exactly.
I'm married to one of those too.
The first lesson though is you can't fix it. Like, babies aren't something you can easily fix, and certainly your partner's morning sickness isn't something you can easily fix, but at least knowing your way around it helps.
All right. Do you have any tips for morning sickness in case anybody's watching right now who's going through it? And
it's funny, I just interviewed Amy Schumer for the new podcast, and she had hyperemesis gravidarum, and I don't know if any of the moms here have had it, but it's severe, severe morning sickness, and she had one of the most severe cases I'd ever heard of. But for basic run-of-the-mill, and then there's medication, you have to have hospitalization, fluids, that's uncommon, but just for run-of-the-day, every day, morning sickness, and whoever named it morning sickness obviously never had it, because it's not in the morning, it's 24/7 sickness. But yeah, keeping your stomach a little bit full all of the time because when your stomach is empty, there's nothing for the stomach acids to eat but your stomach lining. That makes you more nauseous. And also that gives you a chance to get ahead of it. So I always suggest keep a bedside snack bar open, you know, some crunchy dry cereal, almonds. Complex carbs and protein together are a good combo. Maybe a little cheese and crackers before bed, but you're always eating a little bit all day long. I call it the 6-meal solution. Works for heartburn. I mean, relatively works for it. It's one of the solutions to heartburn, to headaches, to mood swings, just to keep your blood sugar elevated. And also when you have morning sickness, in the first trimester, your baby is teeny. You don't have to worry about, you know, gaining weight. Maybe you'll lose a little weight. You don't have to worry so much about the nutrients your baby is getting because they're teeny. Later on, you can have fun catching up on the nutrients, but stay hydrated. I love almond milk for heartburn and nausea. Icy cold, anything icy cold, watermelon, icy cold.
Yes, totally. Having been through 2 pregnancies in Florida, icy cold, everything was what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote down a question to ask you because I have seen you answer all kinds of questions from moms who want to know everything. But I'm curious, is there any question that can make you blush?
No, you know this. You already knew the answer.
I'm not sure if I do.
I get very frisky questions sometimes, and sometimes moms write them down on a little piece of paper so they're not. Hey, listen, nothing makes me blush. I was the first person to say penis on national television back in 1990 because I was talking, not randomly, but I was on Good Morning America talking about sex during pregnancy. I just did a podcast on that too. And you know, it's what it's called. So I used the term, but at the time, nobody else had used it before. So it was kind of something special. But yeah, there is no question that will ever make me blush. Not ever. You can try. Go ahead. Go for it, Liz. Try.
I think I'll be the one who starts blushing and then we'll all be embarrassed.
and the funny thing is during the showers, anyone who's been to the showers knows this, we have a Play-Doh competition where moms make stuff out of Play-Doh, and inevitably there are some graphic ones. And the guys who are there typically get a little blushy, but not me. Mm-mm.
Good for you. So you mentioned earlier that your wonderful husband, Eric, has been with you for this whole journey. And you've mentioned that he's been such a support to you in raising your children. So what advice do you have for military mamas whose partners may not be able to be around consistently due to travel, deployment, work schedules? Any advice or tips?
I'm blessed that I've had him by my side this entire time. But I've seen firsthand I know so many moms who've gone through this. Liz, actually, you're the one who knows this topic so well because you have a freshly returned husband who was gone for a year and 2 girls to take care of. And it is hard. It's hard if you're pregnant. It's hard if you have a new baby. It's hard when he's gone for the pregnancy and returns after the baby's born. It's hard when he has to leave as soon as the baby's born. All of those scenarios are hard. And the best thing you can do, besides one wonderful thing now, is you don't have to write letters anymore. I don't even know if there's such a thing. But now you can actually make that connection as much as you possibly can. But also having him record some books before he leaves. I know the USO has a program for that. Because it's so important, even before a baby is born at 6 months gestation, they're able to hear. And so that's when they start hearing their father's voice. They hear your voice all the time because it's ambient, so they hear it twice. But to get them used to dad's voice is super important. And keeping him connected on everything that you're doing is important too. A lot of times, there are transition issues, and especially when a dad comes home and a baby's already born or the baby's become a toddler and doesn't recognize them. And it's a process. It's a process that takes time, and it takes, not sink or swim kind of thing. It's not like you put them together and say, okay, you're on. You'll want to do some of that, but what you'll want to do is have them get to know each other first. I remember one mom at a shower in, I think it was in upstate California, and she said her trick, her husband came home when the baby was 4 months old. She took something that she had worn, she put it in the baby carrier. And that way, when he held the baby in the carrier, the baby was comforted by mom's smell, and then he started to get used. Now, also skin to skin is amazing. That releases oxytocin for dads too. I think we think of those kinds of nurturing hormones as only a mom thing, and they are not. Dads produce oxytocin just like moms do, but it just takes doing that skin to skin, and it's so important.
So important. I love that. That's really good advice. Thank you. You mentioned a minute ago, and I'm sort of bouncing around, but you mentioned that you just launched a podcast and that you just had Amy Schumer on. Can you tell us a little bit more about your podcast and where can people find that?
Well, it just launched yesterday, actually. So this has been a busy week, and I recorded more of them today. You can find it on Apple, Spotify, iHeart. It's a production of iHeartRadio. Any of those, anywhere you get your podcast. And I really hope you like it because it's a labor of love. And I'm doing it with my daughter, Emma, who is, she's on the cover of What to Expect When You're Expecting the 5th edition. She was the inspiration for the books. And now she's a mom of 2. And she's got, it's so funny because I would say of all the moms in the world who take my advice, Emma is the only one who doesn't. No, I'm not saying that every other one does, but Emma never takes my advice, right? And then she always says, I wish I'd listened to you. But you never want to listen to your mom, right? I mean, that's reflexive. You can't listen to your mom. But so we have a great relationship. And so we were talking today about screen time. She's super lenient. I raise them a different way. Now in COVID, like screen time is a reality. Let's not kid ourselves about our kids and screen time right now. Desperate times, desperate parents, desperate measures. But yeah, so the podcast will cover every topic that you might want to know about. We just did one on newborn sleep today too.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to listen to the one about screen time because I'm living it right now. The rules just went out the window. I do want to talk a little bit more about COVID and what it's like to be pregnant right now and delivering right now. What is your, what are you hearing? What are you learning? What are our pregnant mamas right now feeling in COVID? Talk to us about this.
Yeah, and actually, I just did a Zoom that's going to be up on What to Expect tomorrow at What to Expect on the Instagram IGTV with a doctor, and we talked exclusively about this. This is, really, pregnancy is never easy, right? Never. And pregnancy during COVID is so much harder. And then you have, if you're in the military, you can't even have your family necessarily come and visit you, especially if you're based overseas and you're not allowing Americans in. And so you're feeling more alone than ever. I also, clearly moms have worries about things like development. They have worries, if they get COVID. And there's reassuring, as opposed to flu, which often gets moms hospitalized, there seems to be somewhat less risk for pregnant women who are immune suppressed naturally because the body works that way. So the mom won't reject the fetus. It's all good intentions, but it means you get sick more often. Doesn't seem to be as bad with COVID, but it's hard. It's hard. First of all, you're robbed of some of those joyful experiences like having your baby shower, maybe certainly having your baby shower with me. I would be there in a heartbeat if I could be. But also things like, it's such not a normal time, and pregnancy is something you want to, you want to show off. You want to be out there and having fun. You want a baby move, whatever. There are things you just can't do now. And also you're pregnant, it's hot, and you have to wear a mask, right? It's it's not easy. It really isn't. But you know, there's reassuring news. It's not, it doesn't seem to be impacting babies as much. We still have to be super, super cautious because there's so much that we don't know yet.
Are there any additional risks? I mean, we know that the pregnant women are susceptible to certain things, but are there any risks that we know of? Is it a higher risk of contracting COVID when you're pregnant, or?
Yes, it seems at first I thought no. And, you know, the problem is we have such limited data because this only started months ago. So we haven't seen that many pregnancies all the way through, except, you know, maybe in China, maybe not even. So it's hard to say, but so far it seems like they might be slightly more likely to get COVID and might be a slightly higher risk category. But a lot of pregnant women are young, and young women often do really well. If you have what they call comorbidities, which is you have another risk factor. So say you have diabetes or gestational diabetes or hypertension, then, you know, you just want to be extra, extra cautious. But everybody's being extra, extra cautious. And that's, you know, that's the best thing we can do right now is wash our hands all the time and wear the mask. And, you know, a lot of moms are like, oh my God, do I have to wear a mask during labor and delivery? And most hospitals are requiring that unless you test negative. And if they have rapid testing at the hospital, it's possible that you won't have to wear a mask, but a lot of moms have to. And it's not easy. It's not easy, but the end result is that healthy baby, and that's all that matters. I mean, the other thing is not having support people with you, as many as you otherwise would. You know, it used to be you could have a doula, you could have your mom, you could have your sister, and your husband if he's around. But now you can't. You're usually limited to one support person, and that one support person has to stay the whole time, can't come and go. So it makes it difficult. Every area is different, and there are areas where the guidelines are much stricter. But if you have questions, definitely ask your doctor or your midwife and get the scoop.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. And I'm seeing a lot of people writing in the chat box relating to what you're saying. So I do want to pause here and check in with Danielle. Danielle, what do we have going on in the chat box? And are there any questions for Heidi?
Yes, this has been perfect. As Liz said, there's a lot of chat going on. There were 3 questions that came in that I think you really started to talk about, Heidi, but I'll kind of give you the rundown of these 3 questions. That way, if there's stuff you want to add. So right along these lines, any tips for coping with what you just described, you know, not having that support in the delivery? We have a first-time mom who is delivering in Japan and will be away from family and now is finding out about these restrictions. And then also another mom just sharing that it's hard also not having that support during the first appointments and the ultrasound. So coping tips there. I'll give that to you.
That's actually a really good point. I forgot to mention that, but there's restrictions on who can go with you to those, you know, those milestone appointments that you so look forward to, those ultrasounds, and also just to be by your side during it, you know, if it's a stressful situation. And, you know, a lot of offices will allow you to have your phone with you so that you can share on FaceTime or you know, at least in some way have instant communication with your family. And that's true in some delivery rooms too. They might not let you record sometimes, but they will let you have someone to talk to. And that, you know, I am a huge supporter of doulas. I am a huge fan of doulas. Doulas are, you know, support people in birth that are just there for you. They don't take the place of your partner, but if you have a partner who's deployed, my goodness, go get yourself a doula yesterday. Like, that is so critically important, because if your partner can't be there, this person will be there not only in the hospital. You know, doctors and nurses are there, yeah, of course, but they come and they go. They're not with you 24/7. And hopefully you don't go through too many 24s in the labor room, but you know, you could. And the doula is there before you get to the hospital. They're there for you in late pregnancy. They can be there for you postpartum. And postpartum too, they are so good to have, whether you have your partner there or not, someone who can just show you the ropes and kind of, you know, take care of you a little bit. And there's actually research that shows that births that are attended by doulas are less likely to be complicated. They're less likely to need intervention. They're less likely to end up with a C-section because they are there to help a mom through this experience, to advocate for you. So I can't say enough good things about doulas. A lot of doulas will provide services either free of charge or also possibly at a discounted rate for military moms. And I'm working on some legislation right now with some of the senators to bring doulas to all military moms. Fingers crossed it gets through, and then, you know, doulas will be covered by TRICARE. I hope so. But a doula, if you can't have your doula there with you, or you can't have your family there with you because of the restrictions, you can have them on your phone. And so they can coach you through the whole thing. The massage isn't quite as good by phone, but still.
I do want to pause and touch on that. And sorry, Danielle, you probably thought I was going to go back to you, but I want to touch on the fact that you are so active in government and legislation. And you've mentioned in the year or so that I've known you, several trips to Washington, D.C. and to the Hill. I don't know if you can necessarily speak specifics on what you've been doing, but I think it's incredible that you're fighting for mamas everywhere. And you're putting their interests in front of the lawmakers. Can you tell us a little bit about what that's like and what you've been able to accomplish?
I always think it's not enough because there's so much I want to accomplish for moms in the US, military moms. Black moms have such a high maternal mortality rate in the country. So there's so many moms who don't get the support that they need. They don't get maybe the health care they need, the nutrition they need, and then the mental health care as well. That's something that a lot of, it's not spoken enough about, but another piece of legislation that we're working on is to make sure that military moms, when they have pregnancy or postpartum depression or another mood disorder, and by the way, that's something we should talk about because you should never try to sweep this under the rug or say, oh, it's just normal, everybody has it, I've got to be strong. But every mom who needs help, and all of these are treatable, by the way, anxiety disorder, OCD, postpartum PTSD, they're all real conditions. Just as you would go to a doctor for an ear infection or a bladder infection, you should go if you have symptoms of a mood disorder. But unfortunately, there's a lot of stigmas in the military sometimes, and we just want to make it way more accessible, you know, in terms of asking for help and getting that help. And of course, the community of moms around you is super important for that too. And if you see a mom who needs that help, you got to go advocate for them. But yeah, there's so many issues, housing, all kinds of issues that we go and speak to lawmakers about when it comes to military moms, because, you know, I am not from a military family. My father served like at the very last month of World War II and you know, basically just had a good time. And Eric's father served in World War II also, but we don't have military in our family. And it wasn't until 8 years ago when I started to talk to more military moms that I started to see what the struggles were and to see the challenges. And like I said before, pregnancy is never easy. Becoming a new parent is never easy, but the challenges are exponentially multiplied for a military, whether active duty or your spouse. And I feel like we talk a lot, we talk a good game about supporting our troops. We do not, you know, pay more than lip service when it comes to families. I know the USO does, but if I have my way, military moms will be supported, and military kids and families. It's so, so important. And I will never stop working for you guys.
Thank you for fighting that fight.
I thank you for letting me.
It's awesome to know that we have a champion and someone who knows him, who literally wrote the book, who's championing military families everywhere. So thank you for doing that. And
thank you for teaching me the hard lessons.
I'll throw it back to Danielle because I see we do have some more questions in the Q&A box.
Yes, all this talk about doula has some questions coming in. So can you share information? So 2 things have come in: how to become a doula, and perhaps also how to locate one. We have some great synergy going on in the chat, helping each other out, because there seems to be a challenge to locate a doula in Japan.
Oh, that's probably true. That's something I'm going to have to look into. Now, becoming a doula, that's something else I've been talking to lawmakers about, because I feel that military moms are uniquely qualified to fill that void that exists, because you don't know until you've been in those shoes, right? So I don't think anyone would be a better doula than a military mom for other military moms. And I know lots of moms who want to do that. And there are organizations that do training, and in some locations, I believe they might be covered, but my goal is to get everybody who wants to be a doula to get that training, and then to be able to, wherever you go, to to pay it forward by giving that support to another mom. And I've seen lots of military moms become doulas, and I think it's amazing. But I think within your community is the best way to find out what resources are available. And we need more. We definitely need more.
Well, thank you for that. I'm going to go back just a little bit to the conversation around COVID and things being canceled and restrictions. So we have another first-time mom asking about any childbirth tips now that lots of those classes have been canceled.
Yeah, and that's such a smart question, because I always say, I couldn't get Emma to take childbirth classes because she's like, I know everything I need to know. Where's the epidural? Like that's Emma. She's the complete opposite of me. She has the pain threshold of, like, I don't know, it's teeny. So, she growing up, she'd have to be airlifted to the Mayo Clinic if she got a scratch. That's Emma. So she knew she wanted an epidural, but I still told her it doesn't matter, because there's so much you don't know. And what you don't know, it's not that, it can hurt you just by making you more stressed out. Knowledge is power. So the more you know about the process, the better. And also the more relaxed you can be about it, as much as you can be relaxed in labor. It's not to say that you won't feel pain if you try to go unmedicated, but there are, one of my top favorites is Hypno Birthing. I've heard such amazing things from moms, and it's something you can do. All of these, by the way, are things that you can take online. So, whether it's Zoom classes, or you can take a course online with your partner. And so it's not like you're completely out of options. It's not the same as being in a class with a bunch of other moms, but it's better than nothing. And Hypno Birthing, I don't know if any of the moms here have tried this, but it allows you to focus so, have so much attention. You're in almost not a trance, but you're in such a deeply relaxed state that you can shut out the pain to some extent. And for a mom who's really good at it or super suggestible, if you're ordinarily the kind of person who's not easily distracted, then this could be incredibly helpful. But just having a good sense of what all the things, all the possible scenarios. It's funny, everybody does a birth plan. I did another episode on birth plans with Emma, and you think, oh, this is the way I want my labor and delivery to go. Well, P.S. the best laid plans. So it might go according to your plan, but because you never know how labor is going to progress or not progress and how you're going to handle it, you can go in saying, I want to go unmedicated. I am totally doing this. But if you decide around, 6 centimeters that, no, or maybe the 12th hour or the 14th hour, you're like, no, I need something. Do not feel guilty about it. Don't feel guilty about anything, and don't let anyone make you feel guilty about your birth choices. Or, say you have to have a C-section and you always wanted a vaginal birth. Same thing. The only thing that matters is that healthy mom and that healthy baby. Nothing else in the end is all that important. So I say be flexible, find out what your options are, think about how you'd like things to go down, and then just you're being prepared, right? That's what a childbirth preparation class is all about, being prepared.
Heidi, as you were talking, more questions were coming in. You're sparking a lot of thoughts. So along these lines, I think when you brought up epidural, yes, someone submitted a question on the topic of epidurals. What about moms who don't get that option? So she's sharing specifically that in Japan, hospitals in her area don't do epidurals, and pain management after birth is just Tylenol. So wasn't sure if you had anything else you wanted to add on there.
Yeah, and that's why I know, and that's true. And I think it's also less likely in places like Germany, Europe, in UK. A lot of deliveries are done by midwives. In Japan, it's just considered an extra, like, you should be able to tough it out. And it's a different culture, lots of different practices, lots of different philosophies, and that's hard. That's where taking a childbirth class is really going to help, maybe doing hypno birthing. But having support is so important. And I feel for you. I really, really do. Emma would really feel for you. Like, it's, and as for postpartum pain, something I want to bring up about postpartum pain, it hurts. Everything hurts down there. Like, even if you had a C-section, you got pain here, you got pain there, you got pain everywhere. Things that come to mind: first poop and first sexual encounter, but we don't even want to think about that for weeks later, right? But those things hurt. And I kind of am in the camp that if you can go without the prescription pain medications, it's good only in that they're constipating, and it's also kind of easy to get used to them. But that said, if you're in a lot of pain and you need medication, you talk to your doctor and make sure you get it. And the other thing is, if you think for 1 second something is not right postpartum, or during pregnancy for that matter, like, you've got to listen to your mom gut. If you feel that, I don't know, I'm so swollen, I'm still so swollen, I shouldn't be this swollen at this point. If you're worried because you're bleeding excessively, or you have a headache that won't go away, whatever your symptom is, a lot of the symptoms in postpartum that are normal actually are not that easy to distinguish from complications. So I just want to say, if you have any symptoms postpartum that are super bothersome, or you're thinking this can't be normal, please, it could be an infection, it could be it could be, there's postpartum preeclampsia. There's all kinds of things that are going to happen, but just because I want you to be listened to. I want you to speak up and be listened to. That's so critically important. Did we have more questions on that?
Thank you. I'll keep going if Liz doesn't have any, because we're getting plenty that are coming through.
Okay.
Yes, very helpful. Thank you so much for that. Another question about just your thoughts on, precautions and such during this time. We know there's not, visitors allowed in a hospital, but what about having family fly in from out of town to come visit their new baby?
I just had this conversation yesterday with the doctor I was telling you about, the OB. Here's the thing. Most doctors would warn against that, at least initially. The reason being, okay, a few reasons. First of all, the first 6 weeks with a baby, their immune system has not fully kicked in yet, right? So you have to take extra precautions anyway. We're going to be coming into flu season. It goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. You, your partner, anybody who is going to spend any time with your baby has to get a flu vaccine as early in flu season as possible. That goes for being pregnant as well, because if you get it when you're pregnant, it's going to provide protection to your baby for several months. Flu is super dangerous for babies. And COVID, we don't know how dangerous it is for some babies. So we want to be extra careful. And when family flies in, planes, who knows, they're coming, well, where they're coming from, but depending on what the situation is on the ground there, it's not recommended. It's so hard. I know that, but the silver lining that I've been trying to get people to pay attention to is that at least if you don't have your family coming right in, you have that time as a little nuclear family to bond. If you have other kids, if you just have the baby and it's the three of you, that gives you a chance to just be together and to develop those bonds and not to be, I'm not going to say interfered with, but there are mothers and mother-in-laws who can get a little bossy, a little pushy. And what they often do is push dad away. And that's the last thing I want them to do, because if dads are given the chance, there is nothing a dad can do that a mom can do that a dad can't do just as well, if not better, given that chance. And when all the women folk are around, they tend not to, be able to get that chance. So I think it's great if on the other hand, you are just alone with your baby, your partner's deployed, then you definitely need some support. And I would try any which way to get that. But in the first 6 weeks, I'm just gonna say it, it's really best. And probably as long as this pandemic is going strong, it's hard. It's gonna be a lot of FaceTime. And I'm so sorry to say that. I'm sorry. I feel so guilty right now.
Thank you. Everything you're sharing is absolutely helpful.
But one more thing about vaccines. We don't have one for COVID yet. Hopefully we will. In the meantime, Tdap. Every mom has to get a Tdap vaccine in her last trimester, the third trimester. And dad, anybody who's around the baby has to get a Tdap vaccine. Now moms need it every time. Dads only need once, so they're lucky that way. But the flu vaccine every year, the Tdap every pregnancy for moms.
Thank you. And thinking about those that are able to start to get back to work now, we have a breastfeeding and going back to work mom. She's a teacher, and during COVID, she's going to have those learners remain in the classroom all day, and is just getting a little stressed about having time to pump. So any advice there?
Well, it really, there are for sure more protections for breastfeeding moms than there used to be. Now, I don't know where she is, where she lives right now, where she's based, and what the protections are, but she should definitely do her homework about that, because moms should be able to have a safe place to pump, and if they want to, right? And you would be pumping, of course, just about as many times a day as you would breastfeed. That's a lot of pumping. You need a place to store it. You need a clean, safe place to be able to pump that's private and not a restroom. So those are things you should look into ahead of time. And something else to keep in mind, and it's World Breastfeeding Week, and oh man, am I a huge supporter of breastfeeding. I breastfed both babies for a full year. I would have done it longer. But not every mom has, if she's active duty, it sometimes is hard. There's all different, kinds of life realities that can get in the way of full-time breastfeeding. But did you know you don't have to either just breastfeed or do only just formula? You can do a combo. You can do both. So If it becomes too much stress to pump all day and, and depend on that stash of breast milk to get your baby through the day at childcare, then by all means, you can always do the combo. And that means supplementing and breastfeeding every chance you get when you're with your baby. And pumping if it works for you, because some moms pump exclusively. They don't even breastfeed. They end up pumping exclusively, and that works. But, and something else to know is that TRICARE covers breast pumps. And that's something else I fight for, is better protections for breastfeeding moms and better paid family leave, because it makes it so much more challenging if you're not with your baby to breastfeed for as long as you want to.
Thank you. I'm going to go with this theme of food, and I'm going to take us forward. Maybe a non-COVID question. I know it's so hard these days because it's affecting everything, but let's take a different one. Tips and tricks to introducing new foods to a 6-month-old.
Oh, yes. So actually the timing is perfect, because 6 months is the sweet spot for introducing solids. So that's good, because if you start them too soon, it's not recommended. For formula-fed babies especially, it can lead to overweight. A lot of parents still hear they'll put the cereal in the bottle thing. Don't do that. Now, on to first foods. It used to be that cereal was like what you did. You did the rice cereal, you waited, then you did the barley cereal, then, you did the oat cereal. That's not recommended anymore. And in fact, more and more moms are doing what's called baby-led weaning, which I'm a huge fan of. And of course, you gotta choose your comfort zone here. You want to talk to your pediatrician first and foremost, and get your pediatrician's thoughts on which foods should come first. But some good first foods are things like soft, ripe avocado. It's creamy, babies love it. For the most part, it's a healthy fat. It's a really healthy food. Or any kind of soft vegetable, like a sweet potato is great, or soft carrots. Winter squash, I know it's summer, but you get the idea. Pretty much anything that is gummable. Baby-led weaning, the whole concept behind that, and I chime in if you're fans of that, more and more moms are doing it. It means that your baby takes the lead. So whatever the family's eating, you offer a modified form of that. So instead of the spoons of cereal, which are they're bland and they're boring, and they get babies used to that bland, boring flavor. They also don't have any nutrition besides the added iron. You're introducing a variety of foods, one at a time, but you're still introducing a variety. And you can, you don't want to put salt on foods, you don't want to put sugar on foods, but if you're introducing whole foods like vegetables, like fruit, that are gummable. Now, you say, how can I give baby like pieces of stuff? They don't have any teeth. Well, guess what? The first teeth are not for chewing anyway. They're for biting. And so there's a big difference, because until they have full set of molars, they really can't chew anyway. That's why you keep chokeable foods away from them, like those hot dogs or nuts or popcorn, because they can't chew them. But they can gum gummable foods. So like pretend you have no teeth and see what it would be like to gum. That's the texture that you should give babies foods. Or you can put them in really tiny little pieces. You can give them scrambled eggs. They used to talk about you can't give certain foods to babies. Honey, you can't give for the first year because there's a rare risk of infant botulism. But beyond that, there are very few foods that babies can't eat if they are baby appropriate. That means not the salt and the sugar, not processed, but things like scrambled eggs. You don't have to worry about the allergens. Yeah, you want to get the green light from the pediatrician, but that was one of the first foods that Emma introduced to Sebi. He's an incredible eater, as opposed to Lennox, who was started on purees. Purees are in your control, right? When you put finger food in front of a baby, and pretty much anything qualifies as finger food, like yogurt, that's a finger food. They put their fingers in it and they lick their fingers, and it's food. So that's finger food. So anything that you put in front of them, they, instead of, the airplane into the hangar, the train into the tunnel, choo-choo, whatever, that depends on you pushing them to eat. And that's never a good idea. So with baby-led weaning, very much like breastfeeding, they take the lead. They decide if they've had enough to eat, if they don't like a food, and you just keep putting a variety of foods in front of them and see what they like. It could be shredded cheese. It could be little pieces of whole wheat French toast, things like that, that they can gum and get a variety of tastes and textures right from the start. That makes for more adventurous eaters. It's not to say they're never going to go through the picky stage, because pretty much every kid does, but you have a better shot at it.
Thank you so much. Going backwards to pregnancy, someone else is asking, does what you eat during pregnancy help curb food allergies for baby?
As a matter of fact, there's research that shows this. So just a few years back, they said, don't give moms peanuts. Don't let them eat peanuts or peanut butter or even nut butter when they're pregnant, because that will make the kid have allergies. And in fact, the opposite has been shown. Clearly, you don't want to have a peanut butter sandwich if you yourself are allergic to peanut butter when you're pregnant, just to, desensitize your baby. But if you like peanut butter, almond butter, anything, if you eat that during pregnancy, unless your doctor has told you not to for some reason I don't know about, then your baby is less likely to have peanut allergies. And in fact, they now say that one of the first foods that you should introduce should be some form of peanut. Now, obviously you don't give babies peanuts as a first food, or even peanut butter by the spoonful, because they will definitely choke on that. But there are peanut products that you can buy that are designed for babies. You might have seen them, ask your pediatrician about them. But the idea is to introduce them by the time a baby's 6 months old, so that they are less likely to develop an allergy. Something else, I am very pro probiotics for pregnant women in general, because they help with your digestion, and who knows, they might help baby as well. So so try that, but eat a wide variety of foods, because when you are pregnant, your baby it's called flavor learning. When you're pregnant, they swallow your amniotic fluid. Your amniotic fluid is actually somewhat flavored by what you eat. And if you think about it, it makes sense. Breast milk is also flavored by what you eat. So if you're eating, Thai food all the time, your baby's not gonna balk when they taste something spicy, or, curry. That's why babies in certain cultures are used to certain foods, because they learn it in the womb, and they learn it, from that flavor learning in breast milk. So it's really fascinating, but that's I'm sure a lot of you have noticed, foods that you crave during pregnancy, maybe your baby is a big fan of. Not always, but sometimes.
Awesome. Thank you. I think we're all getting a little hungry now too.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
But I'll shift gears a little bit. We have two different moms that have submitted questions. It sounds like one has a 6-month-old baby and one perhaps just a few months old. But any advice for having to PCS with those very young babies right now?
Oh boy. Yeah. Good luck. No, just kidding. So the thing with the babies is they actually are more portable when they're tiny, as opposed to if you're PCSing with a toddler. Liz, I'm sure you can speak to this, but the older kids can sometimes be more of a handful than a baby. And a baby, I definitely recommend baby wearing as much as you can during your travels, because that keeps away the germs, right? Because your baby's facing in. It allows you to have your hands free, which is always a blessing. Always try to get a seat on an airplane for a car seat if at all possible. That's really makes it a lot easier. So your baby's not napping in your arms. But as far as the PCSing, I mean, the moves for an infant are going to be easier in certain respects than for an older child who has more adjustments to make. If you are going to PCS, don't bother with sleep training, stuff like that, starting solids until you get there, unless, you know, your baby's gonna be 8 months old by the time you get there. Clearly you wanna do that. But expect, you know, things to, you know, if you're going through a lot of time zone changes, you gotta keep that in mind. So you're gonna expect some adjustment. With older kids, it's kind of harder because they have so many things that they get used to. Babies are creatures of comfort and creatures of habit, but even more so toddlers. So they're not, you know, I always say change is something that toddlers don't believe in. Babies really don't either, but they're more putty in your hands at that age. But definitely lots of, if you're going on an airplane, please, so much hand sanitizer and so many changes of clothes, and just make sure you have everything that brings your baby comfort. If you're lucky, you just need these, right? Because there's nothing easier than breastfeeding a baby when you're traveling. Don't do that with the car moving, but other than that, lots of diapers, lots of wipes, changes of clothes for you. Yeah.
Thank you. This is great advice and lots of luck and good vibes for those who are about to embark on that journey.
And yeah, and if you need a hug anytime, you know where to find me. Well, you'll find out where to find me.
So on that note, I think perhaps this can be our last question, and I'll turn it back over to Liz. Any pregnant mom groups or websites specifically for the military? Do you know of any? Or if there's anything else you just want to kind of close with and mention to our listeners?
Well, in fact, on what to expect, we have a board just for military moms. We have quite an active, I think it's like 11,000 moms on that board. So it's a community within a community. I have tons of military moms on my Facebook page, and also Military Family Advocacy Network is a great resource too. And just, if you can build a community within your community, please try to do that, because you need that support, and other moms around you need that support.
I think we're seeing tonight, just even in the chat box, people are making connections with people nearby. I see a lot of Ohio mamas connecting, which I think is super cool. So just to echo what you said, Heidi, I hope everyone can find a community within their community so that you don't have to rely on people traveling in. Mamas everywhere are all going through the same thing. We're not alone. So we can all establish our own communities.
We're all in this together, right?
That is the truth. Heidi, let's let everybody take a selfie with you for people who want to post about this on social media. Anybody want to get a screenshot or a selfie with us? We'll hold up our little mugs and we'll say cheers to coffee. All right.
Now you have to post those for me.
Yes, you have to post them. And Heidi, how can they tag you and how can they find you on social media?
So you see my name somewhere, right? It's Heidi Murkoff. That's all you need to know. It's at Heidi Murkoff. It's my Instagram. It's my Facebook. You do have to like me because I'm very high school that way. But if you like me, then I will follow you anywhere. If you follow me on Instagram, I will follow you right back. And you can always ask me any question you have. You moms who know me, you know that I will answer your questions and I will always be there for you. I know it's not easy being a mom, and I just want to make it as easy as I possibly can.
And I'm sad because we're at the top of the hour, and I know we could sit here for another 2 or 3 hours and just talk through these questions and discuss life as a parent and as a pregnant person. And I'm sad that we're at the end of the hour, but come back and do this with us again sometime, please. I know you're very busy, but we'd love to have you back to do this.
Never too busy for my moms. What do you think I'm going to do after dinner tonight, right? I'm going to be on Instagram. I'm going to be on Facebook. I'm going to be answering your questions. So I hope everybody does reach out and follow me. And like I said, I'll follow you anywhere. And hopefully next time will be a real shower or a real reunion somewhere around the world where you are.
Well, it's almost as if you knew I was going to mention this next. I wanted to let everyone in Hawaii know that we are scheduled to have the special delivery baby shower at the end of August in Hawaii. So start looking for that soon. And for the rest of the Pacific, because we know there's a lot of you joining, we're going to try to be out your way in October. So Hawaii in August, the rest of the Pacific in October. You guys can look for the save the date tomorrow. I've been told it's going to be coming out. So look for that.
I'm sure Guam too, right?
I'm sorry?
Guam too, right?
Guam too, absolutely. We can't forget Guam. Absolutely. You can find Heidi on social media. Also be sure to look for the USO Military Spouse Facebook group. It's brand new. It's exclusive to military families. So find us there. I think Danielle's going to put it in the chat box to find the USO Military Spouse Facebook group. Just so everybody knows what we have coming up for virtual events really quickly. Next week, we have 2 different LinkedIn webinars with Michael Quinn, who is a military veteran and also a LinkedIn guru. We also have coming up this month 2 different Discovering Your Spark virtual workshops. And we have the week of August 24th, we have 3 Lowe's and the USO do-it-yourself virtual workshops. Again, the registration links for those will be in the chat box. You can find more information on the USO MilSpouse Facebook page. And thank you all so much for being here tonight. Heidi Murkoff, thank you for being here. I wish I could hug you from...
I wish I could hug you. I wish I could hug all of you. And I love you all. And I love you. And I hope to see you soon.
We hope to see you soon too. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. Happy Thursday night, happy Friday morning, and we hope you all stay safe and healthy and continue to love on each other and do the best that you can. That's all any of us can do.
And I'm here for you.
Everyone. And Heidi, thank you again so much.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.